Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's daily recap of our daily brief. Try and get this 10 minutes. Come on, Brian. Get your act together. I think it was about 14 minutes yesterday, so I'm getting a little bit better. Hopefully the message actually here in the market hasn't changed a heck of a lot, but a couple interesting new developments overnight. So here we go. First and foremost, US dollar index still coiling, getting ready for the Fed announcement. I'm a little concerned, as I said the other day, and we'll talk about it in a bit, that this almost feels like everything is positioning itself ahead of that Fed announcement day. Then once the Fed actually does ask, then really what we have to watch for is sort of what the commentary what the commentary is following the actual rate decision. And he has about a press conference of about an hour afterward to sort of lay out what the sort of sentiment of the Fed is going forward. That's probably what we have to really watch coming out of this event. But nonetheless, market continues to coil into this event, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a head fake either side of this before the actual date. So be careful here, people. I think it's really, really dangerous to place big bets, especially like investments, ahead of this event. It looks extremely dangerous. Now, one thing that might help the Fed in that sort of we want to cut interest rate kind of thinking is we actually had the S&P's fractal top here yesterday. I've heard a lot of people in the marketplace talk about how this is probably not going to be an outright recession because we just don't, the Fed has completely changed the rules of the landscape of the market right now. And we're still sort of digesting what does a world swimming in $16 billion of liquidity look like. And then I don't see it on the yield curve recession. But what I do hear a lot of talk of is earnings recessions. And companies that are not coming out and beating and exceeding expectations, they are getting absolutely crushed here. So doesn't surprise me really that we had that fractal top come in. On the site, of course, we follow good old Brian's algo. At least I follow it for whatever it's worth. And we had trade location, we had indicator confirmation, and we had a really polite little M off the 4 hours, which set up this bearish trade. And boom, 2 to 1s were hit. Merry Christmas, you're done. Take your money and run. And we talked yesterday a little bit about how this is probably going to look like something like a Head and Shoulders going forward. So with that said, I believe that as we're getting closer to this Fed announcement, it feels as though the fear asset proxies in the marketplace are catching a bid, around the uncertainty. What's going to happen? Is the Fed going to panic and, talk about the global economy collapsing, all that kind of stuff? Who knows? But in that uncertainty, we do have a number of the fear proxies, and we got a cute little matrix here of a few of them that we like to follow. Obviously, the gold bugs, they're paying close attention. We also have the Japanese yen, which I think gold and yen move very closely. And we also have the treasury bonds, the TLT ETF on the screen. And you can see that they're basically moving in lockstep here. And we've come into a very interesting tight consolidation. I do like the idea of hunting trades to trade this. And, I think Alex the other day was talking about massive higher time frame bullish bots on things like gold. I think I could make the argument just off of the short term. We had 33 tested, that sort of brings the bot alive. And if we throw on bot trade levels, believe it or not, you can notice 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows. This level 1427, pretty important. And guys going long off of that to actually trade this bot, I don't really have a problem with that, right? 1558. But if we lose these 1384 levels, you better get the hell out of there. I'm not going to play the metals move this way. The way that I'm playing the metals move is through my cheeky little North American palladium. And I originally bought the W down here, so I'm doing pretty well on this trade. But, we were posting in the lounge, people wanting to try and figure out ways to sneak into this thing. really interesting trend line breakout. 1, 2, 3. Give me structure on the other side of this trend line. And lo and behold, there's a big fat bot level. We talked about this yesterday, and you can see this thing has no interest whatsoever in pulling back right now. And I think it's a pretty good proxy on the sort of the metal rally right now. So I consider this a trade. You know where I'm invested from. But, you know, traders got to trade. I really don't have a problem if people were picking up names off of this bullish bot breakout level. And you can see those people, just like I showed you on the gold, this move stop to scratch level has been hit. So now if we do crap out and pull back here, this trade, you just hop off at scratch. But long and short of it here, I don't see any reason why this thing can't go up and fill in this monstrous hole on the charts up top here. Called a gap. So that's a trade that's well underway. And it was interesting, even just yesterday in yesterday's recap video, we actually were talking about it just as it was taking off. So I wanted to talk to you guys about another setup that I see happening here that's actually just developing as we speak. So if you're interested in the pharmaceutical sector, these guys have come out with a drug that's gotten pretty positive reviews. You know, you can do your own due diligence on the actual stock and the drug itself. I won't go down that line. So all I'm going to simply say is, and again, this is another one of these where I'm long off of the original double bottom here. And this was a weekly W, which we absolutely love. But if you were thinking about trading and adding to positions, you can see the cute little bullish bot that's trying to set up here. 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows. Nice double bottoms here. You can see the bot entry level 862, and it's projecting up into the $12, $13 area. And if I understand correctly, there is a catalyst coming down the line in middle of August, which will probably be sort of the reason why this thing pops up. But from what I understand, you know, do yourself a favor, look into this company and this company's drug. From what I understand, this could be pretty big. I'm not touting. I'm not telling you to do anything. Follow your plan. Follow your setups. Trade accordingly. But this one's definitely got our attention. Cairo Pharma. To finish off today's offering, I put out a tweet this morning, and you know, a lot of people on the site have been sort of mentioning this to me and saying, Brian, why aren't you talking about this? So long and short of it here, any way you shake it, I mean, there's no denying it. That's a big fat M. And so I put out a tweet earlier this morning saying, you know, what are we supposed to be thinking if we ever see the market smiling at us? This is getting kind of dangerous now. And then also too, given the range, this has been a pretty darn big move. So at the very least, what we should be doing is just letting this settle down. And, you know, if I wanted to hunt trend continuations, I want to see 3 higher lows. And with this new recent low, there's no trend continuation signal here for me. I think just like the gold and the yen and the bonds, Bitcoin to a certain degree is a fear asset proxy. There was a gentleman, an old student of ours, who came on and said that he didn't agree with that theory, but I'm going to hold to my guns on this. And what I'd also say too, and this is what I think is really going on here, we've actually dead cat bounced rally right into actually a structural sell level here. So this is going to be a real big battle point, right? That is actually the clothesline sell signal, and notice that price did nothing more than just rally right into here. Now, my hunch is, for whatever it's worth, and this is just my opinion, you know what I think of people's opinions, but my hunch is that we're probably going to get some sort of rally back to trendline resistance here. We might not, but that's my hunch. And also too, if you notice just off of this clothesline basis, if we do things like reload zones, right, you'll notice that that reload zone happens to line up really nicely with that level as well. So with that in mind, lower time frames, they actually did paint a lot of the divergences that we've been sort of looking for and watching for here recently, if I can find the chart. We had MACD double divergences come in, huge buying interest. We actually now have a W working on these momentum oscillators. Willie did technically go stupid. So I put out tweets this morning, and actually it's really cool. Mr. Bollinger's study put in double divergences and broke out here with that MACD study. I put out a tweet here saying this morning, I could completely understand swing traders taking a setup here. You do have a W, right? Down, up, down, breakout. This was a higher low. And 2 to 1, what a coincidence. That's going to take us right back into that trendline resistance and that reload zone. So that's sort of what I'm thinking right at the moment is counter trend rally, but I'm really worried and for the community, because when Bitcoin goes into bear, the community takes it really hard. But I'm really watching this actual structural fail level right here, right now, really closely. I wouldn't be surprised if shorter time frame, like hourly 15-minute setups actually come in because that's a pretty big resistance point. So too late to be a buyer, right? You can see the breakout. It was here. We're now up here. On pullbacks, especially that big tail, wicks and tails like to be eaten. The lower time frame players, maybe that's where they're going to get their long entry from. And I think Julian talked about that today. Okay, so why don't we leave it at that for today? Have yourselves a great afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. All the best. Try and play from a position of strength. And the only thing left for Brian to say at this point is bye for now.